Eagles came to fight, it's that blue, white. Eagles came to fight, it's that blue.
Welcome inside the Eagles Nest. I'm your host, Josh Aubrey-Dean, joined by Mike Anthony, sports editor and Georgia Southern beat writer for the Statesboro Herald. And Mike, the Georgia Southern Eagles coming off another loss, this one coming against an SEC team, a game that I believe most people thought would be a little more lopsided score. Georgia Southern actually had it down to a touchdown in the fourth quarter. Couldn't ever come back from that, though. Neither team scored much offensively, and I guess the key was Georgia Southern comes out to an early lead. Ole Miss really took over in the second quarter, and then they were pretty even after that, but that second quarter kind of did them in, but there was some progress made. Your thoughts on going back to the Ole Miss game from last week?
Well, Georgia Southern finally showed what a lot of people thought they would see through the first quarter and a half of play, that being explosive plays, keeping teams, opposing defenses on their heels. They really surprised Ole Miss, I think, with some of their speed. They got a little bit more push off of the offensive line. That's something we've been begging for the last couple of weeks, just doing something to get those guys into open space. You can see that Matt Breida, as tough of a struggle it's been for him so far this year, he still remembers what to do when you get him in some space and has no one in front of him. And then a big play from the passing game. You get Kevin Ellison with a nice back shoulder throw, a long touchdown to start the scoring for Georgia Southern, a punt block in there, and they really had Ole Miss rattled a bit. But as you mentioned, Ole Miss, one of the better offensive teams in the country. You can't hold them off forever. They score 4 touchdowns in the second quarter alone. That ends up being the difference. Kevin Ellison dinged up a little bit. I think that really hurt Georgia Southern's chances. Only 2 field goals in the second half for the Eagles. I think you see a few more points with a healthy quarterback.
Well, you mentioned healthy, and you mentioned Georgia Southern, and they are far from that at this stage in the game. Had a chance to talk with Coach Summers. I know there was a lot of talk in the spring and even maybe a little bit in the preseason about his philosophy being a lot different than the former coaching staff about practicing and hitting hard and being tough and hitting. And the past philosophy of the coaches was, we're not tackling to the ground. We're going to do this more like an NFL practice schedule. I don't know if that had anything to do with the recent rash of injuries to Georgia Southern, but I believe every offensive back is pretty banged up at this stage in the game.
They are, but I don't think it has so much to do with practice. You can pretty much pinpoint the times where all those guys got hurt, all of those coming in games. I think the real culprit here is the schedule. We've talked about it before. 4 consecutive road games. That takes away from your practice and prep time a little bit. And on top of that, the 2 home games in that span, one being a couple weeks ago against App State, the other one coming up in a couple of days against Lafayette. They're short weeks coming off of road games. You lose even more prep time with the Thursday night game as opposed to Saturday. So really, this team hasn't had a chance to breathe since they boarded that plane for Michigan a month and a half ago.
Well, Coach Summers did mention that his philosophy of the hitting hard and going full tilt at practice was more in the spring than it was during the season. We can't get out to practice. We're not allowed at some, so we really don't see that as much, but we'll have to take him at his word as far as that goes. Now, as for the upcoming matchup, you have Lafayette coming in. You mentioned that this was a short week. It's a short week for both teams. Both had to play on Saturday. Lafayette, they've got to be pretty concerned. They brought in Hudspeth. He did well for a couple years, but not the last couple years. They haven't struggled a little bit, and this year in particular, you lose to Idaho at home and only score 13 points. You get shut out on the road at App State. Their offense in particular has struggled mightily this year. This does not seem like the same Lafayette team we've heard about over the past few years.
The Raging Cajuns were supposed to be the bullies on the block in the Sun Belt as App State and Georgia Southern were making their way in. But let's not forget that as well as they played those 4 years leading up to Georgia Southern making that step up to FBS, before then, not a lot of football history for UL Lafayette. Actually, there was a lot of history. It was just all bad. So it seems like more of a regression to life as usual there in Louisiana. A couple of 9-4 campaigns, 4 of them in a row, some bowl wins, some Sun Belt Conference championships, all those in that 1 4-year span though. So that tells me that for a while they had some of the best talent, some of the best recruiting. Now you're starting to see it dry up, and you could just see it take a step back in 1 year, another step back last year. This year, it doesn't look like it's rebounded at all. They're down to just one or two skill guys that really put any sort of fear into opposing defenses, and the statistics are following suit. The offense just not there for UL Lafayette anymore. The defense, pretty decent, but kind of running into the same problem that Georgia Southern has at times, where if your offense can't stay on the field, your defense can only be expected to put up a fight for so many plays before they tire out.
Well, Mike, you mentioned a few years back, Lafayette was kind of one of the big dogs on the block in Arkansas State, and the first year Georgia Southern was in, heard a lot of talk from those two schools in particular about, well, Georgia Southern might be good, but they haven't played us yet. They're avoiding us. Then last year, of course, Georgia Southern didn't play them once again. Now they get a chance. Do you feel like many of these Eagle players have kind of stored that in the back of their minds and are now going to use that?
We'll get their best and we'll give them our
best. There might be a
best.
little bit of motivation. There's bigger things at hand for Georgia Southern. They want the win to get another step closer to bowl eligibility. It just so happens that one of the ways to get one of those wins is to go through UL Lafayette, and I think what might play into it is that a lot of the contributing guys on this year's team were also contributors back in 2014. They were the ones who were out there winning games and then maybe looking over their shoulder and seeing a team out there in Louisiana.
You guys obviously know you got to win at least two, and probably be good to win all three in order to get a bowl.
Both for Georgia Southern and
that's
even
how
back at media day, talking
my
to a couple
go out
of
there,
Raging
go get all the rest
Cajuns.
of these games and get a bowl game.
They downplay it, but if they remember it, you know that they remember it. They know what was said, and chances are that while there might not be trash talking from 2 years ago out on the field, both teams know that they have a lot of pride to play for. They know that they want to be viewed as one of the top teams in the conferences, and even if they don't win a championship this year,
we're working hard. We know what we want to do.
The other team
we know we got to
on
get
the
to a bowl
opposite
game
side
this
of the
year,
field.
so we're going to make sure we focus in and stay away from bad plays and everything.
All right, well, we had a chance to talk with head coach Tyson Summers and some of the players about the matchup with Lafayette.
I believe it'll be a great game. Lafayette's been one of the top teams in the Sun Belt ever since we've been in there, and even before that. So I feel like it'll be a great game this Thursday. When we first moved into this conference, we were hoping that we'd be able to play every single team, but that's not how it works. But we're very excited because we were able to play against the Arkansas State team, a very good Arkansas State team, and now we're going to play against a very good Lafayette team. It's good to be able to play everybody in the Sun Belt.
We know we won the championship. They talked to. Was it Troy? I think it was Troy. They talked to Troy, and they talking about how they want them to beat them so they can hold their title still because it was our first year. So it's a big deal. We're going to play it just like we play every other game, come out hard, and just make sure we get to this bowl game.
As we move forward, again, we're playing Louisiana Lafayette this week, and Coach Husbeth and his staff obviously have done a fantastic job there over the last couple of years, and Coach Husbeth has won everywhere he's ever been. Obviously, the success he had at North Alabama and then turning around and the success he's had in the recent years at Lafayette. They're a good football team. They're a talented football team. And so as we sit there and go into it, we know offensively, again, we got a couple of guys we've got to be able to stop. I like what they do with their offense. I think, again, trying to be simple what they do and then trying to make sure they get their hands and the ball in playmakers' hands. Quarterback is a dynamic guy, can run, can throw. Certainly he is a guy that about the time you think you've got everybody covered and you've got him hemmed up, he's able to scramble and create down the field. Good running back, and again, receivers that are able to make plays on the ball defensively. They've got some talented guys. They start, with them as their two linebackers are the ones that continue to show up and jump out at you whenever you sit there and watch the tape. A defensive line that plays physical, plays with their hands well, and again, a secondary again that tries to close coverage and play tight, and they don't mind coming and being aggressive in the run game and trying to come up and strike you. So we've got some things we've got to be able to handle there to be able to know what we've got. So as we look forward and move forward to it, again, I'm very excited about the progress that we made. Not excited about the result of Saturday, but excited about the progress that we made, and really excited about going into this last stretch and with these last 3 games and with these seniors and having an opportunity to really get our season going in the direction that we want to, finish the way we want to, and send these seniors out the way we want to, and being able to get in the bowl game, and this is the first piece of that.
Okay, you're not a magician, but I have a way you can make that old vehicle in your garage or driveway disappear and be replaced by a beautiful new one. Visit Franklin Chevrolet in Statesboro. It's truck month, and right now you can save up to $10,000 on select Silverados. And our model year-end pricing on all remaining 2016s will make your savings seem magical. No tricks. Just our team working hard as we can to get you the vehicle and price you want. Franklin Chevrolet. Come in or see us at franklinchevrolet.com.
All right, Mike, now it's time to get down to our predictions. Georgia Southern and Lafayette. It started off, just giving people a background, 10.5 point Georgia Southern favorite on the books in Vegas. It's dropped down to 8. Your thoughts on this game coming up?
I would be a lot more confident in Georgia Southern if they had 2 more days to prepare. If this is a Saturday game, I think that they did turn a corner and maybe got some confidence in their offense back against an Ole Miss team that, while banged up themselves, has 4-star and 5-star guys all over that defense. So I think the Eagles proved something to themselves about who they can be, what their identity is. Maybe the explosive plays aren't quite there because, as we mentioned earlier, a lot of injuries, whether it's in the backfield, whether it's at the wide receiver position, the offensive line thinning out there as far as the depth chart goes. So I think it might be a battle to really have the explosive plays, but maybe that confidence spurs them on to a few longer drives, some sustained drives. They don't give UL Lafayette too many opportunities themselves to get their offense going. The Raging Cajuns have struggled a lot this year. I think you see Georgia Southern take a lead, carry it for most of the game. It won't be a runaway victory. I think at the very end they get that one big play to get them over the top, stretch it out a little bit. I like Georgia Southern 27-13.
All right, well, I like the Eagles in this one by a score of 20-10. I think that their defense is going to be able to hold Lafayette to only 1 touchdown in the game, and I see a couple of Youngway coup kicks going Georgia Southern's way, aside from 2 touchdowns as well. Well, Mike, as we move on, we also have basketball actually opening up the regular season this week. Your thoughts on where the women and men are right now, and give us a little update on who they play with.
Well, lots to look forward to. A lot of players coming back for both teams. When you look at the women's team first, they'll be at home first. You can catch them at Hanner Fieldhouse this weekend, opening up against North Carolina A&T, then a game against Thomas University from over on the other side of the state. This is an Eagles squad that last year had a new coach trying to rebound a really tough entry into the Sun Belt for the ladies the last couple of years. And now I think this is a season where you really want to look to see how the team comes together, because you've still got a lot of holdovers from 2-3 signing classes ago, but now a few recruits that were aimed at by Kip Drown, new or second year now head coach for the Eagles. We'll see how they mesh into a system. It looked like they were starting to click a little bit at times last year. Maybe the talent level just wasn't quite up to par to win a bunch of games. But this year, with every team being guaranteed to go to the tournament, a lot to look forward to for the ladies. When you look at the guys, this is a team that's had 3 different identities in 3 seasons. A couple of years ago, their first year in the Sun Belt, weren't expected to do much. Instead, they come out of nowhere. They finish in 2nd place in the regular season. They get within a few inches, an Eric Ferguson desperation shot of going to the NCAA tournament for the first time in 2 decades. Last year, they lose almost everybody from that team. They're expected to go right down to the bottom. Instead, they have one of the best freshman classes in the conference, maybe one of the best freshman backcourts in the country. I feel comfortable saying that. But they rose right up through it. They won some big games, some learning pains, but finished right in the middle. And now this year, almost everybody coming back. I know the players are confident. Head coach Mark Byington's confident. This is a team that expects to contend and maybe even win a conference championship.
Well, if you want to watch the women, they'll be in action Friday at 7 and then Sunday at 2. As for the guys at home, they'll be back on Monday, their home opener against Coastal Georgia. They open at NC State coming up this Friday. Well, that'll wrap things up. For Mike Anthony, I'm Josh Aubrey. Thanks for joining us. Hope to see you again next week.